So welcome to our session on how to read different emission sources and how to work around a meaningful data collection and use it in a way that we get maximum output from it. So welcome everybody. Today we will be learning how to use CEA first, CO2 emission database, and then we will go into GHG emission database of DEFRA. Now, these tools basically helps us to understand carbon emission. If I'm talking about CEA's carbon dioxide emission database, it will be always emissions from thermal power plants in India, which is an essential resource for everyone to learn in ESG, sustainability, and energy policy. So you work in any area, you need to understand this very clearly. Okay. Now, if you look into this database, this is how the first sheet will look like. Of course, I will also show you. I have shared with you. How many of you have this database now in your hand with you guys? CEA CO2 database. How many of you have it?
Yes, that day we downloaded.
Yeah. We have downloaded. Will take out.
No problem. I will give it to you. If you don't have, not a problem. I will give you the link. Now, this is developed by Central Electricity Authority of India, which is a part of Ministry of Environment, which is working right now together with Ministry of Environmental, Forestry and Climate Change, MOEFCC. And the purpose is to track CO2 emissions, effectively from the thermal power plants. That's the actual purpose there. Now, it publishes these database annually. So you have to understand this is not live data which you are getting in your hand. It is published on a particular date in a year. And you should be careful about when it was last published. Okay. In both the report, that is the first thing you should be seeing. In DEFRA, also go and check when they have published last, which will tell you that when they are going to change this report eventually. Which means that if you are doing for example, DEFRA has published a database in June month last year, which is available in our domain. Revision 1.1 is also there in domain, but the reference point remains is the June last year. What it means? It means that by June this year, they will change the numbers. Yeah, minute changes, not major changes, but there will be some changes. And that means that our reporting, if I am starting now, by June, it will change. Are you with me? Yeah. So that is why you have to be careful about it, that what it captures. For example, CEA database covers details about emissions from coal, lignite-based thermal power plants. And these database helps government body, researchers, companies to evaluate their emission and track the improvement about their operation. So this is how it looks like. So if you see on the row, there will be serial number. First, it will tell you that which thermal power plant we are talking about, which kind of is it. So if you see the first column, a white color is coal and lignite. And then you have serial number, which is a serial number of the thermal power plant, which we are talking. And then they will talk about that which unit. So there are different units there, which we'll be looking into, etc. So this is how it looks like. Let's go each of them one by one. So database origin is, of course, Central Electricity Authority of India for tracking of carbon dioxide emission from thermal power plant. So remember, it's not from nuclear power plant. Yeah. So that's another challenge. So always understand, like last time when we were discussing, that if there is a renewable mix in your power plant. So of course, renewable is zero. So we will not be accounting for it. Correct? Now, if you see policy making, benchmarking, carbon accounting, ESG and sustainability reporting, everything requires these databases, specifically the use case from here. Data format is tabular, as you have seen, and 1 row per unit is calculated, including technical, fuel, and emission parameter. Now, key identifier here is, which we have already discussed. It's typically presented in tabular form for the making it ease of use. That's what they claim. But the problem is for new people, it becomes a surprising element that itna kyun row dekhna hai, itna kyun column dekhna hai, why I should look into so many columns, right? Each row also represents a specific generating unit अब सेम यूनिट का 10 बार नाम क्यों लिखा है? So such kind of question do trouble a new person who is reading it, but people like you and me who are expert in now carbon accounting, for us it is not that difficult to understand, right? Specifically, the columns contains technical specification and fuel emission data, okay, and statistics of the past and future based on the research which has happened. For example, if somebody is talking about serial number and name, now first two columns, serial number and name, is about that plant which we are talking and which we are considering, where from you are getting electricity as a input, or thermal power plant is getting their production is happening. So both cases, wherever you are, what you are trying to calculate, are you trying to calculate scope 1, 2 or 3 emission? You have to understand this part. Now this is a basic identification helping you to find the reference plants which is in your area and you believe to be taking or sourcing your electricity from. That's how you do it. Now if you see unit number, and there is a dt-com. These are the another two columns are there. Now unit numbers tells us how many separate electricity generating unit exist in that plant, and dt-com is a date of commissioning. Okay, that's a short form for that. So that also indicates that how old is this plant and what kind of, and when they started operating. Yeah, it helps us to analyze the age and performance of each plant, which is critical for us to understand. Now, capacity type, state and sector detail, which comes in next three columns, starting with capacity in megawatt, if you see, right? If you see megawatt, you have understood that we are now talking about not kilowatt, it's megawatt, neither it is gigawatt. So megawatt is general inclination. This shows that installed capacity of that plant by particular date. Now here, the date is very specific, which is 31st March 2023. So financial year ending 31st March, this database has been updated and sent to us. And this is version 20. Okay, version 20. If you check version 18, 19, you will be lost as well, right? Because that date or installed capacity might be different. Yeah. And of course, the calculation and research paper will be also little dated. Higher capacity typically means, if you see some of them has high capacity, means definitely there will be more emission unless offset by a greater efficiency or renewable integration in that plant. Okay, so for people who are working in that plant, for them it becomes a critical item to look into. Now, if you look into types, state and sector, these type means usually we are talking about thermal. As simple as that, right? Because this is developed for the thermal power plant. And a state shows where this plant is located, in which state, right? I think there nobody will have an issue. Sector tells us specifically if it is a government owned state or center is operating, or is it a private one? Yeah. So that you need to definitely see. Tata Power, Adani Power, all these people you need to know who is operating. Yeah. So ownership can influence the emission standards and monitoring. Okay. So you can understand that a small fine line between a state operated plant and private operated plant. Now, if I am talking about system and fuel type, that's another two columns there. System refers to the operator or power company responsible for the plant. This could be NTPC, state owned, Tata Power, private, WPCDL. There are several, right? We know across India, there are several different private operators who are working currently in this sector. Knowing the operator is useful for cross-plant comparison mostly, that how my plant compared to the other one is operating and understanding this corporate practices. If I am looking into fuel, you will always find two fuels, fuel 1 and fuel 2. Fuel 1 is always the main source of that plant, which is used for combustion. Typically, it is coal and lignite in India. Yeah, and again, based on that, how much fire, power is there, you use those kind of input material. So coal or lignite is the major source under fuel 1. Fuel 2 is secondary fuel. Usually, it is oil. Yeah, usually it is oil. So in case of failure, in case of increase in demand, etc., the fuel 2 comes into play. And these effects again, calculations and environmental impact on the plant. And here Tanmay was asking that my plant also emits, Methane, my plant also emits. N2O, NO2, specifically the greenhouse gases. So how I should account for, and DEFRA gives me a different numbers, yeah, etc., etc. Now, I am not bothered about that. Why? Because this scope 2 emission already has given you plant-wise, capacity-wise, age-wise, and date on which they have done the research and published this paper. On that day, what is the emission factor? Once that emission factor is there, which converts all the emission coming under scope 2 or from the plant into carbon dioxide equivalent, I am not bothered which gas has emitted how much here and what kind of global warming potential it will be. So if you are solving those questions, you will find this particular confusion. Yeah, once you will take up the case study, you will find this. So if you find it, answer is very simple, that even though you want to refer to DEFRA, but you limit yourself to carbon dioxide equivalent, irrespective of calculating global warming potential and emission factor of each gases, then combining it together. Because in that case, I have mentioned that how much of carbon dioxide, how much of methane, how much of nitrogen dioxide this plant is emitting, or this operation is emitting. If I am giving you that, then of course emission factor you have to use accordingly. Clear? So this is one clarification for person who could not turn up today is there. We will tell him the time. Now, if you see net generation in MU, yeah, that's the it's a megawatt unit or million units, we say megawatt hour and million units, right? Either of these two people use in market. Here we are talking about millions of units. So net electricity generated by this particular plant in this particular state, yeah, or the unit which I am talking to, how much million of unit they have produced. It shows that actual power sent to the grid and used to calculate emission intensity per megawatt hour. And here I would like to tell very clearly now, certain part of our documentation and recorded video is only private to you guys. So don't share with anybody else, irrespective of his friend, foe, or enemy. Doesn't matter. Why? Because it's a proprietary document. If it goes to somebody else, and unfortunately he leaks it out, I will be catching you because your name will be reflected there, that whom he has sourced to. Yeah. So always remember, in case of DEFRA or these kind of video which we are making public, the source remains our YouTube channel. Yeah. So coming back to discussion once more, net generating unit, which is in MU, this is a net electricity generated in million units or megawatt hour. It shows actual power sent to the grid. So there is an installed capacity and there is a net generation which has happened in that plant when we have recorded this data. And you know this recording of the data has happened on the last day of operating cycle for this year. Anybody has any confusion here between MU and the installed capacity? Do you have any confusion there? This net
Is it
generation.
PLF related? Plant load factor kind of thing?
Absolutely. You apply that and then you get the MU. Ravindran, perfectly done. Yeah, and given that you are the energy, moot court executive, you have learned it really well. Very good there. Yeah, so that's how you calculate the net generation happened in that plant, and it shows that why we need to be careful, because this plant load factor creates the emission numbers. For example, if I have a capacity of, say, producing 1000 metric unit or million units, and I'm only producing 800 million units. Now 20 extra of unit, can you stop it? You can't, right? Can you remove it from your operation? No, your machine capacity is that much, right? So there will be some extra emission happening, even though certain part of the plant is ideal. You are not using completely, but that's a part of the process. And thereby the energy will be wasted to convert the coal into your energy, and that extra wastage, because idling of the plant will also add to your emission factor in that year. Ravindran, are you getting my point here? Yeah, because you have learned it well, so I'm trying to explain here. Right now, MU is that. Then fuel one consumption also is given, which is a national coal. So national coal is this particular column. If you will see, it gives the quantity of Indian or domestic coal used in the tons, because national coal and imported coal has a different parameter altogether, right? Based on how much energy it can generate. Now, it shows that reliance on indigenous fuel, which has impacted for the energy security. This line specifically also indicates that. But your target is that how much transportation cost might be incurred here, right? If it is imported, then you would deploy ships to bring it, that domestic and import oriented stuff. So there will be some more emission has happened if it is a imported coal, which is again, if you see one line is given fuel one consumption imported coal. Now this column specifically shows the amount of coal imported from the other country. And this is crucial for understanding Indian fossil fuel dependence on the global market, right? So that also you can see it very clearly. Now, there is one column specifically shown that how much total consumption has happened. This is a sum of domestic and imported coal. It indicates total raw material uses and used to estimate the CO2 emissions, right? CO2 emission from the coal combustion. So that is the total consumption we have to look into, right? And then there is a fuel two consumption, which also similar way, if you see how much of oil you have done, because that is a secondary fuel, right? In any plant, there is a secondary fuel which is made available. Again, in how much million tons they have consumed that oil need to be recorded and need to be seen, because each of them will have a different kind of emission factor, right? And how much they are using from fuel 2 in that particular year will also disturb your emission factor. So it's quite a dynamic number. So anybody who is very good in remembering number and sitting in a board meeting and telling you, okay, take 0.8 for energy, actually he's fooling himself and to others as well, because this number will change every year. How many of you agree to that now, given that we are educated on this line? After knowing all this, do you believe that there will be changes in that emission factor every year? How many of you think that?
Yes, it is possible.
Ravindran thinks that.
Yes, it is possible.
100%.
Possible.
100% possible.
It is 100%. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so let him be very smart in the room, but he is just fooling others because he is talking nonsense. That number will change next year, very next year.
It's a dynamic.
Yeah. If there is a high consumption of the electricity or low consumption of the electricity, yeah, depend on that. Or fuel 1 or 2 or import to national, Coal India prices, all will decide your emission factor. We have understood up to here, right? Similarly, if you look into the fuel 2, which represents the secondary consumption, mostly oil, if you increase the oil, you know that the coal-fired plant or oil-fired plant will have a completely different type of DNA, right? Emission DNA. So be careful about that. Though usually much smaller than coal, the emission will be smaller. It can still contribute to the emission and cost, right? Cost of that emission will be higher compared to the cost of cost of that production of the energy will be higher, because coal has more firepower, but oil has more firepower, but coal has more sustained power, right? Energy conversion cycle में, once you burn the coal, it will run for full night. हम लोग करते हैं ना, we do campfires, etc. So whole night, if you want to enjoy, better put a wood. If you put oil, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, it will get fired up and got closed, correct? So those all things also need to be assumed, seen and understood. Even you are not from the energy sector, but that is why we did a moot court on energy sector. So these kind of clarity, everybody has it, right? Trust me, this nobody will do. Nobody can do such kind of detailed discussion about one industry, which knowledge you are carrying right now. Okay, so आपका scope 2 तो कभी गलत हो ही नहीं सकता है. That I can put it in writing with you. Okay, now another column on CO2 secondary fuel is, even though it's a small in quantity, always remember it's a higher emission factor per unit of energy. Yeah, so fuel 2, if more it is used, always remember there will be higher emission. Okay, now total CO2 is fuel 1 and fuel 2 based on how much that plant has used in terms of fuel 1 and how much they have used in fuel 2. So summing up previous two columns gives you that column, which is total CO2 emission for the unit. And this is most important number for tracking the reporting emission. This is the number we will be focusing throughout our discussion today. Which number? The total emission, right? Total emission or emission factor tons we will be talking about whenever we talk about such kind of number. So coal fire plant, for example, I have put an example here, which is generating 12,000. A natural gas plant has 7,500, and 5 variant turbine, if you are using, which is greener in nature. It's Vivant turbine. If you see electricity one, it will have only 3,500. So you can compare, right, that how much of emission is happening here in this case. Yeah, most critical ESG matrix reflecting efficiency and climate impact is that emission factor. Lower value indicate better performance. Always remember that. Lower value will be better performance. Clear? So that is the emission factor, turns megawatt hour. Now, always I told you since beginning of our session, be careful about what? Units. Always about units. Now you have a data in kg, you have a conversion in megawatt. Will you not convert it? Right? So this is why it is very critical to be watchful, get a guide which is proper, right? Not doing a so this is a key performance indicator. It tells how much of CO2 is emitted per megawatt hour of electricity generator. Lower value, better energy. Then there is a last column which you will find always blank sometime, yeah, in the reporting in versions. So CDM stands for Clean Development Mechanism. Yeah, if unit is a CDM registered, right? If your unit where you are producing this particular oil and it is CDM register, it means that they are eligible to earn carbon credit by reducing the emission under UN FCC framework. So you have to get registered under Clean Development Mechanism if you really want to get carbon credit. Yeah. So if last time Ravindra was talking that I am working in Bangalore and I am sourcing my energy from Mahadevapura thermal power plant, and they also have renewable energy coming to them in their grid. So how it will be working out? So first of all, we will check that whether Mahadevapura has CDM or Clean Development Mechanism. Are they certified with UN FCCC, right? If that is the case, then of course the numbers will change, the emission factor will change. And that is how you should use this booklet and each of these columns to understand and report. You can use it for your ESG reporting like SEBI, BRSR. GRI, Global Reporting Initiative, also requires such kind of emission factors. So you can use there as well. And compare your emissions across the operators, recommend the carbon reduction measure. And this is a powerful sustainability tool for the professionals who are working with ESGPro Mastery Institute. Clear? So that was the part one, which I thought you guys should be aware. And then let's go to another part. Yeah, so let me stop sharing and share back again so we can talk about DEFRA. DEFRA is also very important. So DEFRA too will directly go to the Excel sheet itself.
Vivekji, how to access that CEA data?
Just Google it. Ideally, you should Google that. You should always Google it with the carbon dioxide emission factor from CEA PDF. Yeah. People means we have tried in past and it has worked. Now it is not working. Is going to the CEA website and getting it in the search button. Just ask them emission factor and they used to provide. But now what has happened? We tried last time and it comes out to be they are providing old database there. If you search there, you will get version number 18. 19 and 20, I don't know. We could not find it out on their website somehow after doing so many iterations as well. So I don't want to waste time. Just Google it up and you will get the number. If you don't get it, I will give it to you personally. Don't worry.
Not PDF, sir. Excel.
Yeah,
Excel.
100%. I will give it to you personally. I will send you by in message for sure. And let me show you. We are here, we are sitting. So I will show you that how it looks like. Of course, the first page I have taken a screenshot and shown you as well. And let me show you on the Excel sheet.
Thank you.
Sir, is it chargeable then?
Free. It's completely free. Database is
It's free,
always free. Yeah, it's always free. Both of them are always free. Always free. Yeah. Only if you are taking proprietary based database, they are chargeable. Of course, then they provide you based on your industry, based on your company. This one is DEFRA. Let me also show you CEA before we move to DEFRA. Can you see the CEA now? Yeah, CO2 database version 20. Can you see on the top, everyone?
Yes, yes.
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 Yeah,
Yes.
so always careful that which year you are looking into, because that will change the whole dynamics, how you are reporting. Your report is proper or not. And this is where quacks are making mistakes. So don't become quack ever. Look into such kind of a very small, minute detail as well. Okay, it's not going to change your carbon emission by 10%, 5%. But even though you are 1% off, we are talking about a material topic, you are going to get caught for it. Yeah, that you do not know how to read these days. So this is the data report. You can see each location has 3, 4 numbers, and that numbers are how many units they are operating with, when they have been installed, how they are working on it, etc. Coal, secondary is mostly oil, you will see, right? Some of them doesn't have even secondary. Yeah, some of them like Abhijit MADC EP Limited doesn't have in Maharashtra. They do not have a second firepower. Ratan India, Nasik. Ratan India is a very famous company. They also have a thermal power plant, and again you will see they don't have any emission happening. Mostly they are in renewable, so you will see their number has gone zero. Yeah, Ratan is in renewable. Okay, so they have changed it from thermal to renewable, or they might have stopped. Then only the number has gone zero. But last year it might be there. That's why they are reporting. That also we have learned as a differentiator between a quack learning and a normal learning, right? So remember that. And here is that private center is mentioned, etc. So this is our, and unit, this descriptions you can find all of them here. So if you are confused with any number, data, आज मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, कल आपको मालूम नहीं है, right? I'm not there in front of you. You can go to a junction seat and see even naphtha, diesel engine, etc., etc. Yeah. Unit and abbreviation is detailed there. Transfer is also shown कि इंडिया से भूटान में गया तो कैसे करने का है कैलकुलेशन. एंड देखना आप भूटान वाला हमेशा नेगेटिव होगा. एनीबडी हैज एनी आइडिया व्हाई इट इज? क्योंकि आपने
Carbon negative. It is a carbon negative.
स्टेट इज अ
Carbon
कार्बन
state,
नेगेटिव.
the country itself is carbon negative.
Correct, correct. So India to Bhutan will be negative, but Bangladesh to India will be negative to India. Yeah, so those kind of parameter also be careful on. And then they have given year on year. Yeah, so every year how much transfer is happening that they have provided. And you can take generation data details, how they are calculating if you want to really learn those. Yeah, so 0.8, lot of quack will tell you 0.8 le lo, ho jayega. Yeah, and on board meeting they will tell you. But show them this page. Yeah, it is very fluctuating and it is changing year on year. The number is changing, right? देख रहे हैं आप. और 0.8 multiplied by 20,000 gigawatt, yeah, or megawatt hour as well, or 0.727 megawatt hour. You know how much of difference we are talking in the terms of carbon emission? Let it be with your, your judgment there rather than me talking about those quacks. And I believe you will not do such kind of mistakes. Yeah. With that expectation, let's go to the DEFRA one. DEFRA one is also very important for us to learn. Is it now? Is it seen? No, it's still not. Okay. So DEFRA one, I will directly go to the sheet itself and we will talk from there. So it will be easier. DEFRA, whenever you open the DEFRA, always remember to look to the first page. Like CEMA, you have advantage, the number, the heading itself will tell you when this was published. यहाँ पे भी they are telling you 2024 में they have published full set. But you need to know which month. Okay, so for that you need to see here column number B5. Always look into that. They have this constant number of the row and misidentifier number, and always look here. If you have a software, put your software to play. So it goes to B5, collect the number and tells you that whether I'm doing justice to my reporting and not. As it has been said, there are two departments who are behind it in United Kingdom, who is publishing this data. One is the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero, and second is Department for Environmental, DE, F for Food and Rural Affairs, RA. right? DEFRA. So that's the DEFRA. That is why we say DEFRA, but it is not DEFRA who is producing. Two bodies together are producing. Olden days, it was DEFRA who was producing. That's why quacks will always say DEFRA, DEFRA, DEFRA. I am also saying because otherwise you will not recognize. If I will tell you DESN, you will not recognize, right? Because you have never heard DESN. But remember always there are two bodies in UK who are developing this particular document. Now, what's new is always you should be watchful for. Of course, now scope 1, 2, 3, you know, which is a critical part of this discussion. Critical part of discussion remains 1, 2, 3. Just give me 1 sec. I need 2 minutes. I need 2 minutes. I have some call coming on my laptop. Can you come and pick this call, please? Sorry, apologies. Now, so let me welcome to you to UK government GHG conversion factor for company reporting. And this is that tool which provided by two institutions in India, in United Kingdom. One is the DEFRA, and second is Business Department for Environmental, Food and Rural Affairs, and second is DESENG, which is Department for Energy Security and Net Zero. Now, these conversion factors are critical. And listen to me very carefully. It is critical for UK based companies, not US, not India, and companies which has international business operations, specifically in UK. It is written very clearly. If you have read it, I kept it in front of you for 2 minutes. So you were able to read all that. Now, if you read that, it is very clearly mentioned. But you talk to any quacks in India and they will say, let's go and refer DEFRA. Yeah. Without understanding, it is designed for UK companies to report greenhouse gas emission from their operation in a consistent and standardized manner. Now, these vectors are generally updated annually. And this version, which we are referring right now for year 2024-25, it's a little dated and it's going to get updated in next 20 days. 20 days से भी कम, June 10 में हो जाना है इसका update, right? So we will not have even 10 days to use this database, right? And still we will rely on it and we will enjoy, and you never know what all we will talk about it. Now, why to use this spreadsheet also you should know. It allows you to convert activity data like kilometers traveled by a vehicle, delivery vehicle आप use कर रहे हो, scope 3 में calculation कर रहे हो, You need that kilometer traveled, and you can convert that easily using DEFRA into emission in carbon dioxide equivalent, right? Or kilowatt hour of electricity consumed into carbon emissions, again expressed in CO2 equivalent or CO2e in short. Now, first time user like you, anybody who is joining our session, you guys are expert now after 12 days. DEFRA recommends that reading environmental reporting guidelines, okay, which is referring to the methodology paper section of this report. Always read that if you get time. I'm sending you guys, if you don't have anybody who doesn't have, just ping me and I will send you personally both the documents directly into your DM. Okay, so you can start using it without wasting further time to search is online and what is right, what is wrong. And always wait for the updated version. So in June 12th or 13th, hopefully we will have access to the new version, which also, if you want, we will share with you. If you have used previous version, be sure, like you are using this version now. So what is the solution? Vivek is saying quacks are using it. So what is the solution? Solution is that make sure that you check out the new one, what's new in the guidance. Okay. So if you have used the previous version, like we are using this version, I should go in June 12th or 13th, 2025, new published document. What's new section? Can you see in the bottom? Everybody, can you see in the bottom there is a section called what's new sheet? Can you see that? Everyone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
बस वो देख लेने का आपका problem solve है. You are better than the quack. Why? Because I checked what is there in 2025. So even though I reported with 2024, but I have checked there is no massive changes. Only these are the few version changes which I need to be calculated for, or put that into your report. If the publishing is yet not happened, you have just calculated, given it to your publishing department, just ask them to put a star mark saying that this is not considering this emission factor. Yeah, where the major change has happened. So always use this as a tip. It will help you. How this spreadsheet is organized, very simple. This is spreadsheet. If you want to see how it is organized, look into that sheet number 3 and let me show it to you. Yeah. So what's new? Like in 2024, what's new is completely different. They have talked about, they have considered the PHEV vehicle, plug-in hybrid vehicle, which was new at that point in time. PHEV, LGV factors they have considered for delivery vehicles, electricity, etc. And also they have looked into the changes of material factor updated with latest data. What are those material factors? One was construction, wood, and closed loop sources. And that is it. So if these three things are not into your perspective and not your company is producing with or requirement of emission factor with, you can move on. Are you with me? If you are using 2023 and referring this one. Now, if you are using 2025 at 2024, you need to check the same thing in 2025 DEFRA report. If you want to know how this is organized, this is that page which you need to see. So it starts with introduction, then what's new, and then index. These are the three non-usable, not changeable stuff. Then there will be changeable stuff, scope 1 factors, scope 2 factors they have identified, and then they have identified with the scope 3 factors, right? And each of them, whatever coverage they have done, all 15 categories, whatever coverage they are having, they have listed those. किसी को कभी कंफ्यूजन होने वाला है कैसे ये डॉक्यूमेंट ऑर्गेनाइज्ड है. सो जो भी आप ग्रीन देखोगे ना यहाँ पे नीचे बॉटम में ग्रीन, राइट, ग्रीन शीट्स, दोज आर फॉर स्कोप 1, एज सिंपल एज दैट, राइट. जो भी आप ब्लू देखोगे दोज आर फॉर स्कोप 2, एंड जो भी आप लिटिल ऑरेंज देखोगे दोज आर फॉर, लेट मी गो देयर एंड शो यू. That is for scope 3 fuel consumption. Simple. आप स्कोप पहले ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बाउंड्री से समझ लीजिए एंड देन यू स्टार्ट कैलकुलेटिंग इट. अब एक काम करते हैं क्विकली, लेट्स सी. स्कोप 1 डायरेक्ट इमिशन एक्सप्लेन कर देता हूं, देयर इज नो पॉइंट वी सी इट. सो स्कोप 1, ऑफ कोर्स यू नो, एनी इमिशन व्हिच यू डू इट फ्रॉम योर ओन्ड और कंट्रोल्ड asset, any emission which happens from these area is your scope 1 emission. This includes fuel combustion in your company vehicle, boiler or generators. Correct or wrong? Correct or wrong? Right? So that is one. Scope 2 emission is that emission which is indirectly happening in your company, specifically in form of energy. So these emissions are from generation of electricity, steam, heating and cooling. 4 plus purchase. If that is there, your work is done. They are indirectly because off-site mostly they happen. They do not happen on the site. They are happening off-site, but linked to your energy use. If it is linked to that, I know I need to check those blue sheets. Then you have orange sheet, which is a scope 3 emission. Of course, these are the emission which comes from your value chain, either upstream or downstream. And that includes business travel, waste disposal, emissions, production, and purchase good. Emission from third-party logistic from delivering your product will be also covered here, right? Now, there is one special note here which you should not ignore, and that is well to tank. Well to tank. It is called WTT emissions. So when exploration happens of the crude oil, then processing happens and it goes into the tanker, all that also gets recorded somewhere. Somebody has to take the emission factor there as well, right? So if your organization chooses to include WTT emissions, be specific about it. That look, my company is very cognizant of the fact that refinery and exploration unit is not only what my consideration is. My consideration is well to tank W2T emission, and that also is an important factor to look into. So this is the full fuel life cycle and not just the tailpipe emission you are targeting here. So again, there is a differentiator. You not being learning from a quack will come here. Are you with me? So एक ही emission के दो part हो सकते हैं. What is the second part? I am doing a tailpipe emission, which is listed here in the DEFRA, and I am also doing a well to tank emission consideration, which will be added on top of these numbers. Are you with me? And thereby, let's go and look into one example. So you will be, it will be easy for you to recall it tomorrow, and that will be delivery truck. Now, अगर आपको कुछ नहीं आता है इसमें, आपको इतना time waste नहीं करना है, you are very busy personality as you are. What I will be doing, I will be looking into my case study and going to this index. Index page पे जाना है और कुछ नहीं करना है और मुझे search करना है related items. For example, if I am talking about upstream distribution delivery trucks, what will I do? Delivery truck search मारने का. अगर आपको delivery vehicle चाहिए 3 में तो आपके पास आपको दिख रहा है. Are you guys able to see it? But एक नंबर दिख रही है WTT और एक और आपको दिखेगी. एक और क्या दिखेगी? डिलीवरी व्हीकल्स इन स्कोप 1 एज वेल. या सो अगर आप ओन करते हो और उसका कैलकुलेट कर रहे हो, देन इट विल बी टोटली डिफरेंट. आप ओन नहीं कर रहे हो और आप थर्ड स्कोप 3 में कैलकुलेट कर रहे हो तो उसका नंबर अलग अलग आएगा और उसमें WTT भी आएगा. आर यू विथ मी? एक तो फ्रेट गुड हो गया, फ्रेट गुड हो गया, फ्रेटिंग ऑफ द गुड्स, और एक दूसरा क्या हो गया? डिलीवरी व्हीकल विद द WTT नंबर. वो दोनों अलग अलग है. ऑलवेज रिमेंबर. लेट्स टेक वन एग्जांपल व्हिच इज देयर इन द केस एज वेल, व्हिच इज योर डिलीवरी ट्रक पार्ट, राइट? अब इतना अगर आपको नहीं पढ़ने का टाइम है तो आपको इसमें कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं व्हिच यू शुड बी रिमेंबरिंग, एंड लेट मी टेल यू दैट फर्स्ट, राइट? आपको क्या रिमेंबर करना है? सो फर्स्ट थिंग फर्स्ट, लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड हाउ टू यूज दिस डिलीवरी व्हीकल एमिशन टेबल. टेबल आपको समझ में आना चाहिए. वो राइटअप जो है इट्स जस्ट अ प्रीकर्सर टू द टेबल. प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल यहां पे ले लेते हैं स्कोप 1 इमिशन का कोई, वेयर माय कंपनी हैज अ HGV और हाई गुड्स व्हीकल. HGV हाई गुड्स व्हीकल. नाउ हेवी गुड्स व्हीकल, सॉरी, हेवी गुड्स व्हीकल मतलब truck, 40 ton trucks, 20 ton trucks, which is loading for you coal, etc., and bringing it to your premise, and you own those trucks, right? That is the requirement for scope 1. Anybody has doubt there? Scope 1 का क्या requirement है? You should be owning it. So let's take a step by step using this DEFRA to calculate company F emission. Let's say that company F operates a fleet of van and high goods vehicle. They want to calculate their emission from their logistic operation, right? We all have a supply chain now, a department, right? And there they sometimes own vehicles. Here, what you need to understand is, say company name is Mr. Subodh. Yeah, Mr. Subodh's company will categorize his vehicle first. How he will do that? He will speak to Mr. Paresh and say, Paresh ji, आप मेरे को classification दे दिए. So Paresh ji will send him, okay, class 1. Class 1 is those vehicle which is up to 1.305 tons. ठीक है? छोटा ट्रक हो गया. एंड दिस इज यूके डेटा, इसलिए ऐसे ऑड नंबर्स हैं. हमारे यहाँ 3 टन 3 टन के ट्रक होते हैं, हाफ टन के ट्रक होते हैं, 5 टन के होते हैं, 10 के होते हैं, 20 के होते हैं, राइट, और 40 के होते हैं, करेक्ट और रॉन्ग? बट आपको यूके में थोड़ा सा डिफ्रेंसिएशन भी मिलेगा, राइट? सो ही विल गिव यू, परेश जी विल गिव यू ऑल क्लास 1, 2 and 3, सॉरी, एंड हेवी गुड्स व्हीकल विल बी जनरली अबव 3.5 टन। सिंपल है कि नहीं? वो जो टेम्पो आता है अपना छोटा वाला, आपने देखा होगा, सब्जी वगैरह लोग लोड करके आते हैं, उसकी कैपेसिटी बहुत कम होती है कि नहीं होती है? ट्रक के बराबर भी नहीं होती है। और फिर आप देखोगे बड़ा टेम्पो होता है जो 3 टन, 3.5 टन का ट्रक होता है, उसका अलग कैलकुलेशन है। दिस इज अनदर रीजन समटाइम पीपल शुड बी अफ्रेड यूजिंग यूके इमिशन डेटा। रीजन इज आपको ट्रक ही नहीं मिलेगा। हमारे यहाँ तो 3 टन का ट्रक है ना, अब ये बोलता है 3.5, हमारा लेकिन ओवरलोडिंग होता है कि नहीं होता है? 100% ओवरलोडिंग होता है। वो 4 टन का ट्रक उसमें लोडिंग होती है, राइट? बट नाइदर इट विल बी टोल्ड टू यू नॉर इट विल बी शोन, बट एनीवे, always consider that there will be some difference on this ground as well. Once you have done that, then you have to check the vehicle ka fuel type. You are seeing this table, right? It's clearly mentioning this. Clear, right? Which type of fuel this vehicle is using? If it is diesel, petrol, CNG, compressed natural gas, तीनों हमारे पास अवेलेबल है कि नहीं है? Do we have this now? तो अब तो इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल भी आ गया, इलेक्ट्रिक ट्रक्स आ गए कि नहीं? छोटे वाले टेम्पो तो हमेशा आ रहे हैं, दे आर सेलिंग लाइक हॉट केक राइट नाउ, राइट? क्योंकि 2 रुपए में वो 100 किलोमीटर जा रहा है, और यहाँ पे 100 रुपए में 100 किलोमीटर जाता है, राइट? सो दैट डिफरेंस, 100 किलोमीटर कहाँ जाता है? 10 किलोमीटर भी नहीं जाता। 1 लीटर में कितना 10 किलोमीटर से ऊपर आपको एवरेज मिल रहा है? कोई ट्रक में नहीं मिलेगा, कभी नहीं मिलेगा। 3 किलोमीटर से लेकर 10 किलोमीटर मैक्स। So recording this activity data has to be done, and always to be done with the kilometer or miles driven. If it is miles, of course you have to convert it. 1 miles to kilometer, how much it is? Anybody remembers?
1.6
1.601 something, right? You always take that. Take the monthly and yearly data, multiply this with the relevant emission factor which is shown here, and then you are done with this table. For example, अगर आप मान लीजिए थोड़ा सा और समझना चाहते हैं, so let me give you one example here. Van है, I have a van, yeah, which I am loading and bringing my vegetables and selling it. So what is the emission I am having? I am of course having van. So इस टेबल में आप बताइए, आपने बताना है मुझे, वैन कौन सा लूंगा मैं? 1. क्लास 3 का मान लो, चलो क्लास 3 ले लेते हैं हम लोग, या क्लास 3 लें कि क्लास 2 लें? विच वन यू वांट टू टेक? क्लास 3 ले लेते हैं ना, किलोमीटर और माइल्स दोनों दिया है। इसका मतलब क्या? ट्रक की वैल्यू होगी और वैन की वैल्यू होगी 1.74 टन्स टू 3.54 टन्स, राइट? नाउ इफ इट इज अ डीजल ऑपरेटेड, ठीक है, कितना मैंने यहाँ पे इक्विवेलेंट यूज किया है, कितना मैंने यहाँ पे पर यूनिट यूज किया है? सो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इक्विवेलेंट का एमिशन फैक्टर क्या होगा? 0.30390 kg। इफ CO2 ओनली मैं देखूंगा देन इट विल बी 0.3, CH4 देखूंगा तो 0.005, एंड पॉइंट अगर मैंने N2O देखा तो 0.00267। नाउ इफ द माई वैन हैज ट्रेवल 1000 किलोमीटर, now you tell me what is the total carbon dioxide emission I have done. चलिए क्विज,
इक्विवेलेंट देने का ना, टोटल सबका टोटल ही लेना है,
यही गेम है, यहीं पे तन्मय कंफ्यूज हुआ है। आई डोंट, यू गाइज हु आर अटेंडिंग दिस सेशन सीरियसली शुड नॉट मेक दिस मिस्टेक। मैंने आपसे पूछा कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड ओनली।
ओके ओके, तो CO2 ओनली लेना।
हाँ, आपको पहले मेरे को कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड का डेटा देना है, तो अब बताइए कितना कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इक्विवेलेंट इमिशन हुआ है 1000 किलोमीटर मेरी व्हीकल चलिए?
0.30041 से मल्टीप्लाई करना।
एब्सोल्युटली क्लियर। तो कितना हुआ? 300 हुआ, 300.41 kgs ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड। अगर मैं बोलूं नहीं, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड थोड़ी इमिशन करता है, मेरा तो कार ग्रीन हाउस में मीथेन भी कर रहा है। कितना कर रहा है? उसका इमिशन फैक्टर क्या है? 0.00004 टाइम 05 kg। तो अब क्या करूंगा? 1000 इंटू दैट नंबर एज वेल। सो हाउ मच आई विल गेट? 1000 से मल्टीप्लाई करे सब, कोई ना कर, कोई करना चाहिए। Yeah, that's the number 5.05, right? 0.05 still रहेगा। तो आप उसको ऐड कर लो, so 300 plus 41 plus 0.05, so it will be 300.45. Somebody should be doing it together, otherwise मेरे वर्ड कुछ समझ में ही नहीं आएंगे आपको। So anybody who is not understanding is not writing, yeah? So आप करो लास्ट वन इज व्हाट, N2O का डेटा भी ले सकता हूं मैं, तीनों है ना, तीनों ग्रीन हाउस गैसेस हैं, तो आई विल टेक दैट डेटा. हाउ मच इज इट? 0.00267. That's the emission factor. Calculate all this, add them together. The number which you will get will be carbon dioxide equivalent. कितने लोगों को समझ में आया इतना बात? अब आपने
300.
सॉरी
300 plus 0.05 plus 2.67.
correct. So total is 303.9, which is the exact emission factor of carbon dioxide equivalent. समझ में आई कि नहीं बात? लेकिन होता क्या है कि आपको तीनों का डेटा निकालना चाहिए. राइट प्रोसेस है कि आप तीनों कैलकुलेट करो सेपरेटली, देन ऐड देम टुगेदर एंड ब्रिंग एज ए कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इक्विवेलेंट रादर देन यूजिंग द डायरेक्ट CO2 इमिशन. अब आप बताओ व्हाई, Paresh ji, why I should be divided into 3 different greenhouse gases? What is your thinking process? I'm not saying you are expert, but what is your thinking process here?
Because all the 3 emissions have different GWP, and that's why they have to be added.
And you should be knowing which one is you are emitting how much. कल आपको आइडिया मिल जाएगा अगर आपने डायरेक्टली.
And when you want to take action over CN,
Correct.
where to take more action on which gas, CO2
कौन सा एक्सीलरेटर मैं यूज करूं अपने ऑयल में सो मेरा इमिशन कम हो जाए, तो वो एक्सीलरेटर यूज करना चाहिए जो N2O ज्यादा रिड्यूस करता है. आर यू विथ मी? दैट यू कैन कम टू नो बाय ईच ऑफ द एक्टिविटी कैलकुलेशन, ईच ऑफ द व्हीकल कैलकुलेशन. This is why I said, let me take 1 extra hour today, but give you a differentiator, which one day alone is equivalent. This 1 hour alone is equivalent to 12 hours of learning. है कि नहीं है?
Yes, yes.
नेक्स्ट 3 डे होने वाले हैं आपके साथ. आज शाम में भी सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ लर्निंग होने वाले हैं, जब लोग आके डिस्कस, डिबेट, फाइट करेंगे कि मेरा नंबर ये नहीं आया, ये नंबर आपने दिया नहीं, वो नंबर मिला नहीं. आपको वहीं से लर्निंग हो जाएगी.
सर वही 3 डाउट है मेरे को भी.
100% सामने वही डिस्कशन है, अभी मत करना, तो आप कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे. देयर आर सर्टेन मिस्टेक्स इन दैट डॉक्यूमेंट एंड आई नो इट.
Deliberately done to come out.
कुछ डिलिबरेटली है, कुछ मेरी टीम ने नहीं कंसीडर किया. डजंट मैटर. आई वांट टू सी वेदर यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट पार्ट और नॉट, क्योंकि आपको डेटा इससे भी खराब मिलने वाला है, ट्रस्ट में. जब आप
मेरे को 4 तो मिला है अभी तक डाउट्स.
So good progress. In evening come and tell what 4 data you have, so everybody learns together. समझ में आ रही है ना बात? ये अभी चाहिए 2 दिन तो कम से कम हम लोगों को चाहिए, कल और परसों सैटरडे को भी. ठीक है. सो जब आप प्रेजेंट करोगे तो बहुत कुछ लर्निंग होगी. सो थैंक यू वेरी मच एवरीवन फॉर स्पेयरिंग एडिशनल 1 hour विथ मी. आई होप इट वाज वर्थवाइल फॉर यू, एंड थैंक टू यू स्पेयरिंग 1 hour विथ मी. या